Good morning. This is Angela Thoma with Dogwood Paper Arts. Welcome to my little studio. Oh, it's time to get back to our favorite recipes journal. I have went ahead and done a little bit of work so that it will be easier for me and you. And I'll show you kind of what I did. I have my strings all cut here. So I stitched around the outside of my journal. This is the one we made with watercolor paper inside. I love the way that it formed. I did keep the signatures inside of it as I let it form, and then to get this signature to fold over this way, I kept this on top of it, and I left it for several days. So this morning I have gone around it and I've sewn the edges, and then I didn't like the way the material felt like it might lift off this, and I really glued it down too with Fabri-Tac, but I was concerned about it lifting off of the watercolor paper. Sewing it down has secured it, and then I went ahead and on the spine I have sewn down just a 1/2 inch away from where I placed brads. So I drew a line, and then I used that as my guide to do the stitching. My neighbor is sawing down trees, so sorry about the noise. Yeah, I know you can hear it a little bit because I can see the flashers going on my sound. I did put in brads, 3 across, so a total of 9. These are a 1/8 inch brad. And if you're going to do a 1/8 inch brad and use this, you put this on 1/8, and that's the smaller brad, or sorry, eyelet. And then this is 1/8 is C3 or C3. One of them's C, one of them's 3, top or bottom. Top and bottom, C and a 3. So, okay, numbers are down here, so C3. After you punch your holes, then you move this up and you apply your brads. I did have to apply pressure, and once I punched the holes, I had to go to the inside and I had to clip away the extra fuzzy stuff, that the fraying part of the material that was left, because the brads would get tangled up in the fray and would not make a nice, or the eyelets would get tangled up in the fray and would not form a nice tight fold over here. Okay, so that's what I did there. Now to get my holes, which is, we're stepping backwards, I figured out approximately, just by putting these in here and lifting this up, I figured out approximately where my holes needed to be and where my first signature needed to be. So normally I go from the center signature to each side. This time I started with this very first signature. So I just folded this up and figured out where I wanted this to come over to and how much space I wanted here. And then I just gently flattened it all out and figured out where that first line was going to be. Then I measured it and made a dot, and then I measured the same length and made a dot. Now your book might be a different size, so I'm not giving widths and lengths and all that, because my book might be bigger, yours might be bigger than mine, might be smaller. So you just kind of have to figure out where that's going to sit. And then I figured out, just by setting my first book up on the line here, I figured out how far apart I needed to make these to make them comfortable with each other, and mine turned out to be 5/8 of an inch. So then I just measured from here to here, 5/8 of an inch, made a dot, 5/8 of an inch and made a dot, and then I drew my line between those two dots. Don't get these dots mixed up with these holes. We're not there yet. Then I measured over another 5/8 of an inch and drew a line. Now, on your spine, you always want to leave at least 1/4 of an inch at top and bottom. Sorry, top and bottom. And if you made the fabric signatures like I did, these papers might still be smaller. Mine came out about 1/4 of an inch smaller. So we'll take that into consideration too. But start here and mark down 1/4 of an inch and draw a line across there. Mark a T at the top for top. That way you will always know. So then I lined this up, and to put the holes in, like I told you, I drew the lines. So from this 1/4 inch, I measured down 3/4 of an inch on this side and this side, and then I drew a line across. And that gave me these places where I would punch holes. Then I turned it around and I measured from my 1/4 of an inch, I measured 3/4 of an inch. Not from here, but from here. If you're measuring from the top, then it would be a full 1 inch. And then I lined it up, my ruler between here, and it was 7 1/16. So I just moved my ruler just slightly so that it was centered. And then I marked a dot, and then I measured over here, did the same thing, and drew my line across. So that gave me the cross marks, the cross hatches, where I needed to punch my holes. So, and I went ahead and I did punch my holes from the inside to the outside, and then I had to clip the little fuzzies. Okay, so that gives you that. Now, I did my hole punching in my spines a little differently this time, and it worked out beautifully. And the reason I did that was because I have this 1/4 of an inch, and then in here some of these are just slightly smaller than these. So I have 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch extra fabric sticking up here above my signature. So what I did was I went to my first hole with my first signature, and I lined this up on the 1/4 of an inch top and bottom. And then everywhere I put a brad, I made a pencil mark. Just like that. And then I pulled my signature out, and I hole punched it with the smallest hole, the 1/8 inch, on each of those little pencil marks, and it's lined up on the spine. That gave me the holes for the outside. Then what I did, on the inside, I have a old dictionary I use here. I didn't clamp anything. All I did was open this up, and I had those holes punched in there. And I put this where it needed to be, inside of this spine. So remember your 1/4 to 1/8 of an inch extra there. And then I used this to push them down firmly. And then I punched right where those holes are. in each of the holes, using this as my guide. Then I set this one aside and I went to the next signature. Now this time I left the fabric signature cover on the outside. I lined all this up on the inside, the paper, made sure it was even, and I pushed it down in. This nice fabric cover is pretty hard, so it's really providing me with some good lining it up. Then I put this signature inside of it, the one I originally hole punched. I lined it up with the outside signature. Pushed it down in good, opened it up, and I used those holes that I first made to make holes into my next signature. I repeated this process for the last signature, doing it the same way, making sure I got my top. Always make sure you have top. Put the first, you always use the first signature if you're going to do it this way. And the reason that you do is because you know it is the correct one and you don't want to get offset. So I went in and I hole punched in each of those 3 holes all the way down. And that gave me each of my signatures. I did use a little wider hole punch this time, but I didn't push it past this point. Okay? So now I know that I have one signature that varied, and it was because the paper was from a different seller. But it's going to be my center signature, which is this one. And this one, I believe, is going to be my first signature. So just go through them, make sure that your papers are top to bottom, you know, all the right way. Otherwise, you might end up with some weird thing like I had earlier. Okay, so that one is correct, so it will be ready to sew in. It's my first signature. Some people start sewing in the first signature to the last. You know, I will do them either way. I'm just checking my signatures. The other thing I did have to do was to cut. Remember, I hadn't cut down my papers. And as I got towards the inside, it got closer and closer to the pictures. So, okay, that one is correct. And then this one. Don't know why these feel thicker than that one. I'm going to count my pages. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That one has 11. Let me count this one. It just feels so different. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I use the same weight paper all the way through, so I don't know why it feels so much lighter, but boy, it sure does. Okay, so let's go ahead and get our signature sewn in. I think that I might, well, it doesn't matter. I can clamp this down after I get it sewn in to keep it out of my way. Now I measured my twine 3 times the length, and then I gave it just a little bit more. Okay? So, We're going to start with the middle and make sure it goes into this last row. Now, if you're worried about this going through and losing it, this string, you can always put a clamp on it. You have to clamp it just right, otherwise it will come out. There we go. That's just a baby clamp. It works good. I always go from the middle to the top. Got my new glasses and I swear they work only part-time. Into that one. Now I thought maybe this time I might try it like Gail's been doing it, because I like the way that her journals tighten up so nicely. So I'm going to go back through the center hole, avoiding going through my string. Whoops. And avoiding that if all possible. Anyway, I love the way that her signatures seem to tighten up so much better. So let's go through this hole and through there. I have to say, making sure I'm in the right place. Making sure, I don't know what I was going to say. I'm so sorry. So, we go under here and come around. Oops. Nope, not that way. That won't be right. You go under here. And you want one string to be on the right and one to be on the left. You don't want both of these to end up on the same side because they won't tie correctly. Okay, see, very loose, see that? Too loose. Let's see. So this one's going to have to pull from that direction, and this one's going to pull from that direction. That's better. You don't want to tear your paper, but you also don't want a loosey-goosey spine like that. See, mine loosened up. This is a wax thread. Now, everybody says the wax thread works better, but I'm not sure. I am just not so sure about that. I find that it tends to loosen up a little bit, especially in the tying process. And if I don't get it tied right this time, I'll have to get a new string. It's in there. Okay, I'm going to cut these long, so I have some charms coming to sew inside. I found some on Etsy. I don't remember the seller right now. When I get them, I'll share that with you. But she had little baking ones, like little rolling pins, little metal rolling pin charms, and mixers, and all kinds of goodies like that. It was really quite cool, so I think that'll be really neat. Okay. Now, if you feel like this signature is going to get in your way as you sew in the next one, just go ahead and put a clamp on it. flop those down so they're out of your way. I would use a big clamp if you have one. And now it's out of your way. Okay, so now we have, is it this one? Oops, I might have sewn the wrong one in. No, this is the center one. Yeah, I guess so. Guess that's right. Gotta find the center signature, the center of the signature, I should say. Now we're going through the middle signature holes. And then through here and through there. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Is I do find that it is a lot better having hole punched my outer pieces. I'm finding it much easier to sew in the signature. The outer signatures are not causing a hindrance problem. Whoops, I'm doing this signature my old-fashioned way. So you'll have to bear with me on that. This one I did here, came in the top, went all the way to the bottom. Now I'm going to come back up through the center hole. And you really have to be careful not to puncture your thread doing it this way. Oh. Much easier Gail's way. Yes, yes, yes. Oh yeah. You don't lose your holes and okay, but since we started this way, we're going to finish it. Now, before I tie this, let's make sure that we do have top and top. Okay, so when you do the signature this way, it's the same thing. One string on the left of this string, right here, and one string on the right of this center string. And it's the same way. You tighten it. Let's see. This one came from the bottom and that one came from the top. And a little double knot here. And I'll cut that off right about there. And once again, if you feel like this is going to get in your way, you can clamp it all together or get another clamp. It's going to be pretty hard, pretty thick to clamp all that, but it can be done. This just gets them out of your way and they're not flopping around with everything else. Gotta have some hand strength there to really get that. Okay. Alrighty. Finding our center, the center of our signature, and putting in the very first signature, making sure it's right side up with the rest of them. And Back through here. You're trying to play tricks on me, aren't you? Gets a little bit harder to do, but it's just a matter of hitting the hole just right. Okay, I want to try Gail's method again of putting it through this hole. Remember, you don't want to split your string. If you split it, it's not going to tighten up. I think Gail's onto something doing it this way. Oops, that didn't hit them. I always have trouble with the last signature. I don't know why. But I always run it through so the needle's somewhere else, who knows where. But I think it will help if I tighten this up a little bit. Yep, that was the trick. Just tighten it up. Okay, so we have this one going. Let's put it over this way and run this through this side. It's just got to be opposite this one so that it will tie. Whoops, that one came loose when I tried to... You kind of just feel when it gets tight. Okay. And there we go. Okay, so our signatures are in. And there is a little space there, but you know, it doesn't look bad that it's there. It makes it nice if you want to keep different things and different signatures. Okay. Now, the front cover. And this. Where do we want this? I mean, it could be inside as just a tuck to protect the book. Or we can put our hole out here and then run our ribbon through it. Let's see, how do we want to do that? If we just put it here and tie it, then we can just wrap it around this way and then pull it under the... Maybe we'll wait until we get our signature full in case we have to cut some of this off. It might be too large. I mean, even if it goes over all the way, that's still fine. But I'd more like it right there. And see, that's a lot of space. We're not going to use that. So let's wait in case I have to cut that off a little bit, because it looks to me like I could almost cut it off right there and then run this back through the sewing machine. And yes, I could do that even with the signatures in it. So let's see. Now, for the front cover, right there, I figured we would make another one of these and sew it down, and we won't sew it on here, but excuse me, my nose is a little runny. Sorry about that. Let's get some of our fabric and check it out and see if we want to put something on there. Let's see, we have a bowl and a rolling pin. We have a mixer, and we have flour and sugar. So what do I have left? I have recipes. That might be a good one for the front cover since it says recipes. I kind of would like that. I guess that's the only one I have. I thought I might have one that was a little different color. I probably do have it somewhere. For my tie, I bought this at Hobby Lobby. And this is going to be the tie on the outside. I imagine this will fray, so I'll have to either sew the ends or glue them. So, but I think that'll make a very nice tie on the outside. And if you want to go wider, I found some in the wedding section. I believe it has wire in it. Wire is very simple to remove. Oh, it doesn't, does it? Do you have wire in you? I thought it did. Yes. There's wire in there. So you just pull the wire out, and then it is a nice wider tie. I thought that that would go well with this. It's not exactly the same color, but it's a good match. Or you could go a nice, really wide ribbon if you wanted. I have some of that. That would work. But I kind of want to use the checks. Okay. So, recipes. Let's cut that down and see how much of it we need. Oh, before I do that, let me put this away and put that away. There we go. And I think I need some sewing scissors. Just a minute and I'll grab some. Yes, you're still recording. You are still there. I'm just going to go ahead and cut this down this way because I plan on making another cookbook. And it will be easier to store this fabric without all the extra yardage on it. Okay. So, oh, better bring that back. Now, I don't want this to wrap all the way around like that. And that's another reason that I might shorten this up, is because, see, it just kind of hogs. It hogs over there. So, yeah. I do think so, but we'll wait till we load it up and then we'll know exactly what we need to do. So this one, you will need a piece of cardstock, or watercolor paper is nice and thick, as we just found out with this process. But I'm going to use this same cardstock that I've been using. And I need these. And I will need this. And I think probably we will cut it right along here. Why are these so heavy? Move that. Hoping I'm making kind of a straight ziggy-zaggy line. It's off a little bit, isn't it? So we'll just come in here, straighten it out. Okay. All right. Oh, look at how crooked it is right there. Yeah, see? It's just going to come over a little too far. So, let me cut that little crooked part off. And then, oh, that's still crooked. Right about there. Oh my gosh, the whole thing is just crooked. It's fine. It'll do. It will do. Okay, so I made this piece a little bit smaller than this. And the reason I did that was so that the cardstock doesn't show. So I'm going to cut it right there. And you can see I'm just kind of taking up that space where the pinking shears make their inward cut. Got a couple pieces of paper there. Alrighty. Let's make sure we have it the right size. Now I used glue stick on these to glue them down, I believe. You probably remember better than I do. The reason I did that was because I didn't want the glue to sop through the fabric. So I used the glue stick because I knew I was going to sew these down. So that's what I'm going to do again. You want to get all the way to the edge though, really, and let it dry before you sew it. This morning when I was sewing, I ended up with a busted needle. That was fun. There, now I can see where I'm off on my cutting. So now I'll be able to straighten it out. Okay. There we go. I must have had a little, oh, it's on the fabric. There's a little knot on that fabric. Okay, so we have that part done. That'll go there. And then I am going to cut this down, you guys. It's just a little too big. I need to take off about 1 inch, I think, to 1.5 inches. Really, it doesn't need to come over this any further than right here, right on the edge. Now, the other thing is we could just put it on the inside and make it a rollover like this. And then it has lots of room for expanding and protecting what you want to put in there. So we could do that too. And then our tie would be out here instead of here. Okay, well, I'm going to let you go. We have this sewn in. We have our front cover ready. And it's still very crooked. Jeez, Ange. Funny how you don't notice things. I guess I cut inward there too much. So I will let you go, and when we come back, I'll have this ready. And I will have decided about this, and you'll know if I decide to cut it off because you'll see it. Yeah, I think so. Right about there. But I better be a good girl and wait, huh? Until we get all of our things inside. Yep. Okay, so I will let you go for right now. When we come back, we will apply this because we'll have sewing around it. And we're going to start putting all of our stuff on the inside of the signatures. And we'll get this close to finishing up. Oh, we'll need to make a pocket for here. And I'm thinking about maybe a notepad back here. A place to keep notes, write down recipes, stuff like that. So, okay, I will let you go, and I will let you go, and I will see you tomorrow. How's that sound? Sorry if I was out of camera. I keep hitting my camera with my head, and it keeps going cockeyed. This way and that way and up and down and weird angles, and I just haven't been able to get it straightened out. All right, I will talk to you later. Thanks for hanging out with me, and that's it for today. That's what I have. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.